Going to be creating this simple file tree so you can use this in your Vue application. Now, no matter what framework or library you use, the basic idea for creating this is probably going to remain the same. So you really don't have to worry. If you don't use Vue, you can just follow along and you should be able to reuse the basic idea behind this for whatever framework you use. So let's get right into the code, guys. Yeah, so what's going to happen now is we're going to come into our components folder, and here we want to create a file tree component. So file tree, the view. Now, let me scaffold this. So what's basically going to happen now is we want to go back to the index page. So let me just save this. We want to go back to the index page and we want to import this file tree component. So let me go into the index page. Yeah, so in the index page, you can see I have a couple things already set up for us. First, I have the type for node. You basically have a name. This could be something else, but let me just give it a name, and it's going to have a children. Now if we take a look at our dummy data here, so you can see we have a name and we have a children. Now the children is also an array. The children is also an array that contains an object that contains objects which can have a name and children as well. So the children inside the children here can also have a name, and sometimes it can also has our children as well. So that's what our array here looks like. You can see we are passing the node to our array. So first, let's go ahead and just bring in our file view component. So file tree component. Sorry about that. And save this. You can see nothing is going on right now in our file tree component, and we want to change that. Now for this file tree components, we want to take in an object. Why are we taking in an object and not an array? Because basically we want to take in this node here, and we don't want to have to worry about this. So we're going to be looping over this to display a bunch of file trees. Let's just copy this type here. Let me see, copy. Let me come back here and drop it in. So we're going to define props, const props equals define props. I want to pass here the node, which is an object, by the way. So what's going to happen now is let me just pass in the node here so we can have it available in our object. And let me just do div, and let me put this here. So v4 node in my nodes. So I want to pass in that node in the file tree. Let me get rid of this. Yeah, you can probably define it that way, but I'm really not that good with TypeScript, so I'm still learning TypeScript. And yeah, well, you can have it as this. It works this way perfectly. You can see. But if we come to our file tree here, and let's just output our props, our prop dot name, props dot node dot name. If we save, you can see we have the names in our file tree. Let me get rid of this. So we want to create, let me create a div to house some things. So we, for this, we need the arrow. We need the arrow. Let me grab the arrow. I want to put that in a span. Nope, we're not going to be doing that. Lucid arrow. Now, if you don't have Lucid installed, you can just install it. We don't really want arrow. We want chevron, right? Yeah, Lucid chevron. How do you spell it? Chevron, right? So if we save, You can see we get that. We want to also grab the Lucid folder, and then we also want to grab the Lucid file. Outside of the span, we would have the Lucid folder. Sorry about that. Folder. We also want to grab the Lucid file, and after all of this shenanigan, we want to have node display the name. Let me just turn these props into node. So let me say const node equals props dot node and save. So we can see we have this. So let's give this a little bit of styling. So for the div here, we want to set flex. So flex, if we save, you can see everything is set up not what we want. You can see we have the arrow, we have the folder, we have the file icon, and it's looking a bit messy. It's hard to really tell what's a file and what's a folder. So how do we change that? We change that by applying a few conditioners to the Lucid chevron, the Lucid folder. So for this chevron right, we only want it to show when we are dealing with a folder. So we want this to be vif node dot children. So this is only going to show appear when we have node dot children. As you can see, it is no longer in this sims row here because the sims is not a folder. It doesn't have any children. It's just a single file, as you can see here. So we want to do the same for the Lucid folder. So we want to also show the Lucid folder only if we have children in it. What if the folder doesn't have any children? So we want this to be only rendered when the folder has children. So vif node.children and node.children.length is greater than 0. So vif node.children, we want this to be rendered, but if we don't have any children for the Lucid file, we don't want this to be rendered. So as you can see, we have fixed a bunch of this messy stuff that we had going on. So how do we actually render the children? How do we render the children? So we need to click this for the children to show, right? So we're going to be doing that right now. Let's come here and define a ref. So let's say const is open and set this to false, and we also want to declare our function to toggle this. So const toggle is toggle open. Sorry about that. We want to set is open dot value equals not open dot value and save. Now, where do we want to call this? Where do we want to toggle this? We want to toggle this in the Lucid chevron. We can put this in all of this, but it is not going to be functionally accurate to have the user be able to just click on this and toggle it. We want the user to click on a chevron, and that's only when we want it to toggle and render to children. So what we're going to do basically is go down here and say the Lucid chevron right here, we want to have it called this. So on click, that's at click, we want to toggle open, and if we save, nothing happens because that's because we are actually not showing anything. How do we render the children? So under this div right here, out this div that has a flex here, we want to come out of this div and create another div. So a div, sorry, not data div value, a div, And let me just create a p tag here. Let me say the node dot children. If a node has children, we want to render this. If we save this, you can see we get the children, but the children is an array. So what do we do to fix this? By making this div, we're going to leave that div, but we want to come here and delete this. We want to create a v4. So we're going to create a div. We'll loop this and say v4. So a node we want to do, no, we want to do child node in node dot children. So if node has a children, we want to loop over it. So what are we going to be displaying inside this? Let's just display the name for now. So a p tag for the name, child node dot name. If it has a name, we want to display that and save. So as you can see, we get this, but we're clicking on this, but it's not affecting the children, and that's because we have not set this to a conditioner yet. So we want the children to only open if it's open is true. So we're going to be setting a conditioner on this outer div. So if is open. Let me just do a quick reload. Taking forever. Now you can see that the children are not rendered, but if I click on this, the children is rendered, and if I click again, the children is taken back home. But you would notice something as well. We are only rendering the names, but how are we going to know if the name is actually the name of a folder or the name of a file? So we basically going to have to create this whole component again, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to create this whole component again. But what do we do? Basically what we do is we take, let's just take away this p tag. Basically we do this is we will call this file tree component inside itself. So we will render the file tree component inside of itself, and we will pass in the child node as the node. So node equals the child node. And if we save this way and we come back, let's just reload for a while. Yeah, you can see now that when we click on this, it brings up the action folder, and if we click on it again, we get the children, which is exactly what we want. This is what we want. You can see it is recursively calling the children. So no matter how deeply nested your array is, it is always going to render the same thing, because so it's basically going to keep on calling itself till there is no more children for it to call from. That's basically all that's happening. Now we're far from done yet, and what we want to do is add a bit of styling to make this look more polished. For example, when we click on this button, you see there's no way for us to know was the child of the movies or was not the child. So we're going to change that in a little bit. Let me just go here and grab a little bit of styling from here. So let's grab this first one and let's drop this here. You see flex, we have flex and item center gap of 1.5 and padding of 1.2. Let's just give this a little bit of breathing space. That's what we did there. And we want to start the chevron button here as well. So let me go here and let me grab the, so we're just going to give it a cursor of pointer, and we also want to style it so when we click on it, it rotates. So we are going to be doing this with this conditioner here. So this conditioner is going to be on this pan, by the way. It has to be on this pan or else it's not gonna work. If we save this and we click, you can see it works. We also want to give this a cursor of pointer, by the way. So let's say class equals no cursor pointer. We still have some bit of things to style. So we want to give the lucid folder a margin left of 6 So we want to give this a margin left of 6. If it doesn't have, or if it doesn't have children.length. For the lucid file, we want to give that a class of margin left as well. Doing class margin left 6, and if we save, you can see everything is all nice and clean now, but we still want to work with the folder so it gets pushed in. And so to do that, we're going to have to apply the style to this here. We're going to have to apply the style to the file tree here, but first I want to apply the style to the span of the name. So this name here, I want to apply some styles to it, to margin left of 2 to make it look better. Element here that houses everything. So pattern left of 6, we save, and you can see it is pushed. It is now pushed inside. Now you might want to add animation to it, and that's basically up to you. But let me just go ahead and add a simple animation to this. Let me say V motion fade, V motion. Now, mind you, I have V motion installed, so you can see that little nice fading animation. I had vmotion installed, so you would have to install vmotion to be able to use it as well. So vmotion, let's give this pop. Here we want to give vmotion fade, vmotion fade, and if we save, see, you get a little bit of beautiful animation basically. Now you can tweak this and make this whatever you want it to be to feature liking, but this is basically how you would create a file tree in Vue.js.